Hi, Reddit. I'm Jason, 37, an electrician. My car's in the shop for repairs, so when I got home yesterday and saw a black sedan parked in the driveway, I immediately thought, this isn't mine. Who the hell is here? I walked into the house and called out, Denise. No answer. The house was quiet, which wasn't normal. Usually, Denise was on her phone or watching TV. I set my things down and headed toward the bedroom. That's when I heard her voice. Yeah. Just like that, she said, low and breathy. I stopped in my tracks. There was no mistaking what I was hearing. Don't stop, she added, followed by a small laugh. I pushed the bedroom door open. There she was, on all fours on the bed, naked. Behind her was some guy I didn't know, holding a bottle and squeezing something sticky and liquid onto his fingers. He spread it between her legs, rubbing it in while she moaned. What the hell is going on here? I barked, stepping into the room. Denise froze, her head snapping toward me. Jason! She screamed, scrambling to grab a sheet. The guy stood up, wide-eyed. Who the hell are you? He demanded. Her husband, I said, glaring at him. The guy looked at Denise, his face full of panic. You said you were separated. Denise stammered, Jason. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. I snapped. The guy stepped toward me, holding his hands up like he was trying to calm me down. Hey man, let's not do anything stupid. Okay? Just leave. Leave, I said, stepping closer. You're in my house, screwing my wife, and you want me to leave? He tried to shove me back, but I grabbed him and slammed him into the wall. Jason, stop, Denise yelled, clutching the sheet around her. The guy swung at me, catching my jaw, but I barely felt it. I hit him back, my fist landing square in his gut. He doubled over, coughing. I'm calling the cops, he shouted, fumbling with his phone as he tried to get up. Go ahead, I said, grabbing a set of keys from the nightstand. But I'm taking your car. What? He stammered. Denise stood up, the sheet wrapped around her. Jason, don't do this. You're being crazy. Crazy, I said, glaring at her. You haven't seen anything yet. I turned and bolted out of the room, shoving past the guy as he stumbled toward me. Outside, the black sedan's lights flashed when I hit the unlock button on the key fob. I jumped in and started the car. The guy came running out of the house, screaming, Stop! You can't take my car. He grabbed the driver's door handle, yanking it open. Get out! I swung my arm, my fist smashing into his face. He stumbled back, blood dripping from his nose. He didn't quit, though. He ran in front of the car, spreading his arms. You're not going anywhere. Watch me, I muttered, slamming my foot on the gas. He froze for a second, then tried to dive out of the way. I hit him anyway. His body bounced off the hood and hit the ground hard. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I just drove. As I drove, the sirens got closer again. They were closing in, and I knew I couldn't stay on the main roads. I turned down another side street and pulled into a parking lot behind a convenience store. Killing the engine, I ducked low in the seat and waited, trying to control my breathing. The patrol car's lights flashed as it passed by on the main road. My heart pounded, but I stayed perfectly still. A few tense minutes later, the sound faded, and I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I couldn't keep the sedan much longer. It wasn't mine and it was already too hot. But I didn't have time to think everything through. I just needed to get far enough away to figure out my next move. I pulled back onto a quiet street and drove slowly, sticking to back roads. Eventually, the sirens were far behind me. I parked the sedan in an alley near a closed mechanic's shop and stepped out. I wiped down the steering wheel and door handles with the hem of my shirt. It wasn't perfect, but it'd have to do. From there, I started walking. I didn't have a plan yet, but I knew I wasn't going to let Denise and her lover walk away unscathed. As I walked, my mind went back to Denise. She's 34, 3 years younger than me. When we met, she was a breath of fresh air. Sharp, funny, and full of life. I was at a buddy's barbecue when she walked in wearing this bright yellow sundress that made her stand out from everyone else. She wasn't shy. She talked to everyone, laughed at all the dumb jokes, and still somehow made me feel like I was the only guy in the room. By the end of the night, I had her number. We started dating a week later, and 2 years after that, we got married. First, things were great. We had fun together, supported each other's careers, and talked about starting a family. She got her job as a marketing manager at some big firm, and I was running my own small business as an electrician. We were a team, but then things started to change. The first year or two of marriage was smooth, but once she started climbing the corporate ladder, something shifted. Denise became sharper, colder, even. She'd bring her work stress home, snapping at me over the smallest things. The way I folded the laundry wasn't efficient. The way I parked the car was too careless, and if dinner wasn't ready on time, it was a personal attack. We argued more and more, but I thought we could work through it. I chalked it up to her job, telling myself she just needed time to adjust to the pressure. But now I realized it wasn't just work stress. It was something deeper. She'd been lying to me. The Denise I thought I knew wasn't real. As I kept walking, the image of her on the bed with that guy played in my head like a broken record. Her moans, his hands, the way she didn't even seem ashamed when I caught them. It all made my blood boil. I wasn't done with her yet. Not by a long shot. I found a bus stop and sat down, trying to think. I couldn't stay there long, but I needed to figure out my next move. I called my dad. He's the kind of guy who never sugarcoats anything. A retired army man who always knows what to do. If anyone could help me think straight, it was him. He picked up after a few rings. "Jason, it's late. What's going on?" "Dad, it's bad," I said. "I caught Denise cheating. I walked in on her with some guy and we fought. Things got out of hand. I hit him with his car when he tried to stop me from leaving." "You hit him?" he asked. His tone was sharp, and I could tell he wasn't happy. "He was in the way," I said. "I didn't mean to hit him, but I couldn't stop." There was a pause before he spoke again. "You need to listen to me carefully. Don't talk to anyone else. Not Denise, not the cops, no one. You need a lawyer right now." "I don't even know where to start," I admitted. "I'll make some calls," he said. "Just stay put and don't do anything else. And Jason, stay calm. Don't let this make you do something you'll regret." "Okay," I said. I hung up and sat there, waiting for him to call back. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Dad, it was Denise. I opened the message and it was a photo. She was lying in bed with the guy I'd hit. His face was bruised, and he had a sling on his arm, but they were both smiling. The caption read, "This is the best you can do? You're pathetic." Then another message came through, this time a video. In it, Denise was on top of him, laughing. Her lover's voice was quiet but frustrated. "Why are you filming this?" he asked. "This is evidence. He'll use it against us." "Let him," she said, smirking at the camera. "I want him to see what he lost. He'll never have me like this." The video cut off and I stared at the screen. She wasn't just rubbing it in. She wanted to humiliate me. It was clear now. Denise didn't care about what she'd done or how much damage she caused. This wasn't just betrayal. She wanted to destroy me. Fine. If that's how she wanted to play it, I'd give her a reason to regret it. I sat at the edge of a motel bed, staring at the cheap wallpaper and trying to piece together my next move. I finally picked up my phone and called Dad. He's always been straight with me, even when I didn't want to hear it. "Jason," he answered. "What happened?" "I caught Denise cheating," I said. "Walked in on her with some guy. It got ugly. I hit him with his car when I was trying to leave." "You hit him?" he asked. "He was trying to stop me. I didn't mean to hit him, but it happened," I said. Dad was silent for a moment before replying. "You need a lawyer. Now, I'll make some calls. Don't talk to anyone else, Jason. You hear me?" "Yeah, I got it," I said. "I'll call you back," he said. He called back about an hour later with a name. Carter, a lawyer Dad trusted. I called him right away. "Jason, your dad told me what's going on," Carter said. "First, don't talk to anyone but me. If the police contact you, tell them you have legal representation and nothing more." "Got it?" "Got it," I said. "Second, avoid any further contact with your wife or her lover. No texts, no calls, nothing. Do you understand?" "Yeah," I said. By the afternoon, Carter called again. The lover filed a report. He's claiming assault and he's got photos of his injuries. Don't panic. Just sit tight and let me handle it. I was doing my best to follow his advice when my phone buzzed with a message from Denise. I didn't want to open it, but I couldn't help myself. It was a photo. Denise was on top of her lover, riding him like it was a competition. The guy's face was bruised, and his arm was in a sling, but they looked like they were enjoying themselves. The caption read, "This is what a real man looks like. Jason." I stared at the screen, my hand gripping the phone tighter. Then another message came through, this time a video. In the video, Denise was bouncing on him, her hands on his chest. She turned to look directly into the camera and smirked. Her lover groaned, his voice tense. "You're recording this? Why?" "So Jason can see it," she said, laughing. "Let him know what he's missing. Maybe he'll learn something." The video ended, leaving me shaking with anger. I sent everything to Carter and he called me immediately. "Jason, this is exactly what we need," he said. "How?" I asked, struggling to stay calm. "It shows she's provoking you. She's trying to escalate things and paint herself as the victim. We'll use this to our advantage." "She's not going to stop," I said. "Then don't react," Carter said. "Stay calm and let me do my job." I hung up, but I couldn't stop thinking about the video. Denise wasn't just trying to hurt me. She wanted me to lose control. But if she thought I was going to fall apart, she had another thing coming. It didn't take long for the police to find me. Early the next morning, there was a loud knock at the motel door. I opened it to see two officers standing there, one of them holding a clipboard. "Jason," the taller one asked. "That's me," I said, keeping my hands visible and my voice steady. "We need to talk to you about an incident involving a hit and run and an alleged assault," he said. "You'll need to come with us." "I'm not saying anything without my lawyer," I replied. The officer nodded like he expected it. "Fair enough. But we need you to come to the station. We'll give you a chance to call your lawyer from there." I didn't resist. I called Carter on the way to the station, and by the time they sat me in an interview room, he was already on speakerphone. "Jason won't be answering any questions," Carter told them firmly. "You can present your case, and I'll respond as needed." The cops didn't seem thrilled, but they went through the motions. The lover's injuries were photographed. Bruises on his face and chest, a busted lip, and the arm in a sling. He claimed I attacked him unprovoked and ran him down with his car out of spite. Carter calmly asked, "And where's Denise in all this?" "She was there, wasn't she?" The officers exchanged a look. "She provided a statement as a witness," one said. "I'll want a copy of that," Carter replied. The interview ended without any charges filed. Yet, Carter assured me we had time to prepare a defense if it came to that. He reminded me again to avoid Denise completely. But Denise wasn't done. That afternoon, another message came through. This time it was a video call. I didn't pick up, but she left a recorded message. When I opened it, the screen lit up with Denise sitting on her lover's lap, wearing almost nothing. She grinned at the camera. "Hey, Jason," she said, her tone mocking. "Just wanted you to see what real love looks like. Pete says hi." "Oh, and good luck with your little legal problems." Pete leaned into the frame, his face still bruised but smug. "Better lawyer up, buddy. You're going down for this," he said. Denise laughed and blew a kiss at the camera before the video ended. I forwarded the video to Carter. When he called, his voice was steady but firm. "Jason, they're trying to provoke you. Don't give them what they want. Let me handle it." "They're making a joke out of this," I said. "They're playing games." "That's all it is," Carter said. "The more they do this, the better it looks for you in court. Just stay focused." I hung up, but the video kept playing in my head. Denise wasn't just trying to hurt me. She wanted to drag me down and destroy me completely. Fine. If that's how she wanted to play, I'd make sure she regretted it. This wasn't over. Not even close. I sat on the motel bed, staring at my phone, waiting for the next move. I knew Denise wouldn't stop, and when the message came, I wasn't surprised. It was a video. I hit play. The screen lit up with Denise kneeling in front of Pete. She was naked, her hair messy and sticking to her face. His hands were on her head, guiding her as she worked on him. "You like that, don't you?" Pete said, grinning down at her. Denise didn't respond, but the sound she made told me everything I needed to know. Her lips glistened, and a thick trail of something white was running down her chin, dripping onto her chest. Pete laughed, grabbing her hair to make her look at the camera. "Say hi to Jason," he said. She licked her lips, still smiling, before wiping her face with the back of her hand. "You're never going to get this back, Jason," she said, her voice breathy. The video ended, leaving me staring at the screen. This wasn't just about hurting me anymore. She was going out of her way to humiliate me, to make me feel like nothing. Another message came in. This time it was a photo. Denise was on all fours, her knees pressed into the sheets, with Pete behind her. The caption read, "Best ride I've ever had. You couldn't keep up, Jason." I forwarded everything to Carter. He called me almost immediately. "This just keeps getting worse for them," he said. "Worse for them? Feels pretty bad for me," I shot back. "Jason, every message, every video. It's all evidence," Carter explained. "It shows they're deliberately trying to provoke you. Judges don't look kindly on that kind of behavior." I didn't care about the court case right now. All I could think about was how far Denise was willing to go to push me. I hung up with Carter and stared at my phone. The images and videos burned into my brain. Denise thought she could humiliate me into silence. She was about to find out how wrong she was. I hadn't heard from Denise or Pete for a couple of days, which should have felt like a break. But with them, silence meant they were planning something. Carter called me that morning. "Jason, I've just gotten word that Denise and Pete have filed a police report. They're accusing you of vandalizing Pete's car." "What?" I said, confused. "I haven't gone near them. They're claiming you smashed the windows and smeared paint all over his car," Carter said. "That's insane. I didn't do any of that." "I know," Carter replied, "but they've got pictures and a statement. It's not looking good." My chest tightened. "What do I do now?" "Stay calm," Carter said. "This kind of stunt is easy to pick apart. First, we'll establish where you were at the time of the alleged vandalism. You've got nothing to hide, so just stick to the truth." "I've been at the motel," I said. "Good," Carter said. "Did you talk to anyone there? Maybe a staff member who can confirm it." "I'll check," I said. I went down to the motel lobby and asked the clerk if they remembered seeing me the night before. The clerk nodded. "Yeah, you came in late, grabbed some snacks from the vending machine, and headed back up." "Why?" "Just need to confirm something," I said. Carter was relieved when I told him. "That's solid," he said. "It shows you weren't anywhere near Pete's car. But let's stay ahead of this. If you get contacted by the police, stick to one answer. My lawyer will handle it." "Got it?" "Got it," I said. That afternoon, Denise sent another message. This time it was a photo of Pete standing next to his car, its windows shattered and streaks of red paint dripping down the sides. Pete looked furious, holding up a middle finger. The caption read, "Nice try, Jason. The cops are already on their way to deal with you." I forwarded the message to Carter. He called me right after. "Jason, don't engage with them. Don't respond to her messages, no matter what. It's a setup, and the more they provoke you, the better it looks for you when this goes to court." "They're trying to frame me," I said. "I'm not just sitting here and taking it." "I get it," Carter said. "But you have to stay smart. Don't play their game." I hung up and stared at the photo. Pete's car was trashed, and they were pointing the finger at me. But I hadn't done it. They were pushing me, trying to make me lash out so they could use it against me. But I wasn't going to make it easy for them. If they wanted a war, I'd make sure they lost. I wasn't going to sit around anymore. Carter could handle the legal side, but Denise and Pete weren't going to stop until they felt some of the chaos they were trying to shove into my life. After Denise sent that smug video, I knew they weren't being careful. They thought they had me cornered, but I'd seen them mess up before. It was time to dig deeper and turn their own mistakes against them. I hit up Eddie, a guy I knew from a few years back. He ran a small shop downtown fixing security systems and occasionally bending the rules when the price was right. I'd helped him out with some electrical work once, and he owed me. When I walked in, he was sitting behind the counter with his feet up. "What's up, Jason?" Eddie said, glancing over his tablet. "I need a favor," I said, sitting down across from him. Eddie raised an eyebrow. "What kind of favor?" "Denise and her boyfriend filed a police report saying I trashed his car," I said. "I didn't do it, but I need proof." Eddie nodded, already catching on. "You want me to check cameras?" "Exactly. The car was outside Pete's place. I need to know who actually did it." "Got it," he said, sliding off his stool. "Give me the address." I gave him Pete's location and Eddie went to work. It wasn't a fast process, but I trusted him. A couple of hours later, he called me back. "You're gonna want to see this," Eddie said when I walked back in. He pulled up footage from a nearby business. The quality wasn't great, but it was clear enough. There was Pete, standing outside with a crowbar, smashing his own car windows. A woman, probably Denise, was standing nearby, holding a can of paint. "They framed you," Eddie said, smirking. "And they're terrible at it." I took a copy of the footage and sent it straight to Carter. He called me back not long after. "Jason, this changes everything," Carter said. "This is exactly what we needed. Proves they're lying, and it completely undermines their credibility. The police will have to look into this." "Good," I said. "But they're not going to stop. This won't end just because they got caught in one lie." "You're right," Carter replied. "But this footage puts you in a much better position. Let them keep trying. They're digging their own grave." Later that night, Denise sent another text. This one was short but typical of her. "You'll regret this, Jason. You'll lose everything." I didn't respond. I didn't have to. They thought they could outsmart me, but the truth was starting to catch up with them. They wanted to break me, but I wasn't going down without a fight. When Denise and Pete found out about the footage, they went straight to the cops, just like I expected. What I didn't expect was how far they'd go to turn the tables on me. It started with a call from Carter. "Jason, we have a serious issue," he said, his tone sharper than usual. "The store owner where the footage came from has filed a formal complaint. Denise went to them and told them someone hacked their cameras. The police are now involved." I froze. "Wait, so they know how I got the footage?" "They know someone accessed it without permission," Carter said. "And Denise is pointing them in your direction. The store owner is pressing charges for the breach." I felt my stomach drop. "This is bad," I muttered. "It gets worse," Carter continued. "Denise has also filed a complaint against your friend, Eddie. She claims he hacked the footage on your orders. If the police tie this back to him, he's gonna flip. And when he does, it'll lead straight to you." "Jesus," I said, running a hand through my hair. "What do I do?" "First, don't contact Eddie," Carter said. "And second, don't respond to any threats or messages from Denise. She's trying to bait you into making a mistake." No sooner had I hung up than my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Denise. She'd sent a video of herself, sitting on Pete's lap, a glass of wine in hand. "Hey, Jason," she said, smirking. "Nice try with that footage. Too bad it was stolen. Guess what? The store's coming after you and your little hacker friend. Hope you're ready for what's coming." Another message came through a few minutes later. It was from Eddie. "You dragged me into this shitstorm, Jason," his text read. "Now the cops are asking questions. If I go down, you're going down with me." I felt the walls closing in. Denise had outmaneuvered me this time, and now I had more than just their lies to deal with. I had the police and a furious Eddie breathing down my neck. Carter called back that evening. "Jason, this is getting ugly," he said. "If Eddie cooperates with the police, they'll have enough to charge you for the breach. We need to get ahead of this." "How?" I asked. "Let me talk to the police first," Carter said. "I'll work on damage control. In the meantime, stay quiet. Don't respond to Eddie or Denise. Don't give anyone a reason to pin this on you." I agreed, but it was getting harder to keep my head in the game. Denise and Pete weren't just trying to discredit me. They were trying to bury me alive. The night of the party, I parked down the street from my house. My house. It still burned that Denise and Pete were bold enough to throw a celebration in the place I'd worked so hard to build. Tonight, though, I wasn't there to brood. I was there to settle things. I walked up to the house, calm and deliberate. Music played from inside, and voices spilled out onto the front lawn. A couple of guests gave me curious looks as I stepped through the door, but no one stopped me. Denise spotted me almost immediately. She was in the living room, leaning on Pete's arm. Her smile vanished the second she saw me. "What the hell are you doing here?" she demanded, walking toward me. "I came to see what you've done with the place," I said, keeping my tone level. "This isn't your house anymore," she snapped. "Get out before I call the cops." "Go ahead and call them," I said. "But before you do, maybe Pete should explain why his HR department is investigating him, or why his name is all over a fraud complaint." Her eyes narrowed, but Pete stepped forward, his voice rising. "You've got some nerve showing up here." I didn't back down. "What's wrong, Pete? You look nervous. Afraid someone's going to ask why your company's missing funds ended up in your personal account." His face turned red. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know everything," I said. "And now, so does everyone else." Pete lunged at me, shoving me back. I braced myself and shoved him off, watching him stumble. The room grew quiet, guests backing up to watch. "You're done, Jason," Pete shouted, charging again. This time, I caught him with a quick punch to the stomach, sending him down to one knee. "Stop it, Jason," Denise screamed, stepping in between us. I glared at her. "You're just as guilty as he is. All that effort to ruin me, and for what? To end up with someone who's been stealing behind your back." She froze, her eyes darting to Pete. "What is he talking about?" Pete groaned, trying to get to his feet. "He's lying. He's trying to mess with you." "Am I?" I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. I hit play on a voice recording from one of Pete's coworkers, detailing his harassment and fraudulent expense reports. The color drained from Denise's face. "Pete," she asked, her voice shaking. Pete didn't answer. He grabbed at the phone, but I stepped back. "This is just the beginning," I said. "By the time this gets through HR and the cops, you'll be lucky if you're not in jail." The guests began whispering, some pulling out their phones to check their notifications. "You bastard!" Pete shouted, charging at me again. I sidestepped him, sending him crashing into a table. "Enough!" Denise screamed. "You're both ruining everything." "Not me," I said. "I'm just finishing what you started." I turned and walked out, leaving Pete on the floor and Denise shouting at him. By the time I reached my car, my phone buzzed with a message from Carter. "Their legal cases are falling apart," Carter wrote. "HR is investigating Pete, and Denise's firm has flagged her accounts. You're clear." I leaned back in my seat, finally feeling like I'd taken control. Denise and Pete had played their games, but in the end, they destroyed themselves. It wasn't just revenge, it was justice. 2 days after the party, Carter called with news I hadn't expected. "Jason, Denise has withdrawn her statement," he said. "What? Why would she do that?" I asked. "She's trying to save herself," Carter explained. "Pete's in deep trouble with his company and the police, and she's realized he's not the golden ticket she thought he was. I think she's trying to distance herself from him. So now she's turning on him?" "Exactly," Carter said. "She's claiming Pete manipulated her into filing the complaint and vandalizing the car. She even hinted that she didn't know about the fraud until after the party. It didn't take long for more cracks to show. Word got back to me through mutual acquaintances. Denise and Pete had a falling out after the party. Denise had confronted Pete about the fraud and harassment allegations. Pete, being the coward he was, turned it back on her, accusing her of ruining his life. That same night, Pete had snapped. A neighbor called the cops after hearing shouting and loud crashes from inside the house. When the police arrived, they found Denise bruised and shaken. Pete was arrested on charges of domestic violence, and Denise's world finally fell apart. I wasn't surprised when I got a call from her a few days later. I didn't pick up, but she left a voicemail. "Jason," she said, her voice shaking. I don't even know where to start. Pete lied to me. He used me. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. Please, can we just talk? I need your help." I deleted the message without a second thought. Denise had made her choices, and now she was living with the consequences. Carter confirmed later that week that all charges against me had been dropped. The police didn't have a case anymore, and with Denise pulling back, There was nothing left to fight. Denise lost her job after her firm's audit revealed discrepancies in her accounts. Pete was facing multiple charges, including fraud, harassment, and assault. The house went up for sale, and Denise disappeared from my life for good. In the end, they'd destroyed themselves. My revenge wasn't about violence or making a scene. It was about letting their own lies and betrayal catch up to them. I walked away free knowing I'd won, and I never looked back.